All right, now we're back. One second, I'm gonna get a drink of this Dr. Pepper. Man, dude, that's for Dr. Pepper is like the elite soda. Someone once told me like Dr. Pepper was spicy. I'm like, it's kind of a weird way to think of it, but it's a little bit of spicy. I mean, it makes sense. That's why it's Dr. Pepper. I like to think of it as like barbecue soda. But enough of Dr. Pepper. Let's get on to the Big Ten. The Big Ten is finally back, and I don't know, like college football is just a little bit more exciting on just because there's more games to watch on the weekends now. So I'll just kind of go over some handful of teams that I've been kind of paying attention to. If I don't talk about your team, sorry. I mean, that's all I can really say. But I'm sure I'll talk about them eventually down the stretch. So let's talk about my favorite team, of course, in the Big Ten, Wisconsin Badgers. Um, the Badgers only played one game so far through the second week of Big Ten. In that first game, it was against Illinois where they whooped them, and this was the debut premiere of Graham Mertz. Graham Mertz is one of Wisconsin's most highly recruited quarterbacks in program history, and he tied multiple records, and he had a really breakout performance. He had 5 TDs, he only missed one pass, and I think he has the best passer rating game so far in the entire college season. Unfortunately, if people that don't know, Wisconsin's a very COVID heavy state. They get a lot of cases down there, and he got COVID, and then more players got COVID, and then the head coach got COVID. And they got so bad that they were supposed to play Nebraska on Saturday, and they had to cancel because they had too many cases. Like, I don't know what to expect because even their backup quarterback got COVID. I'm not sure who's going to step in and play. And the weird thing about the Big Ten is, unlike the other conferences, you have to sit out for 21 days versus 10 days. That's crazy. That's 3 whole weeks. I feel like I don't have a problem with it. I just wish it was just the same across all conferences. It's just a little inconsistent. They may have to cancel another game next week because we just don't know what's going to happen since all these players are getting sick. But like Wisconsin, they still look really good, and it's just unfortunate that they miss games because if they miss enough games, they may not be eligible for any like big games like the Big Ten title game, or if they're that good, which I don't think they are, they might not be eligible for the college playoffs. Then let's get on to the Iowa Hawkeyes. I mean, everyone knows I'm not a big Hawkeye fan. I think they're like cockroaches. You just can't get rid of them. But they had their first loss against, I believe it was Purdue. I think it was Purdue, and it was a close game. The quarterback looked better than I expected that game. But then the second game happened, and then it was against Northwestern. The Hawkeyes had a real good strong start. I mean, they had seven. They got 7 points within the first drive, I believe. It was a turnover and then led to a 7-yard pass for a touchdown. I mean, it was real good for the first drive of the game. I didn't really have a problem with the defense. The defense looked pretty strong on Saturday. I mean, they held it to a point where the offense could get to a lead, but there was just no points in the second half, which is not good. And here's a problem I have is they had 50 passes. That's a little overboard, I think. They need to utilize the run game a little bit better. But then again, the run game wasn't looking that strong either. But that's nothing against the Hawkeyes. Like, Northwestern looks really good this year. I mean, they were better than I expected. They were better than what I expected. The game was winnable, but there's the 2 interceptions that their quarterback had were just, one was a bad read and one was just bad placement onto the wide receiver's hands. In those kind of situations, especially the last minute of the game when the last interception happened, that's going to cost them the game. And I think they could have won that game if they didn't have that bad interception. And Iowa so far is not super astronomical on their stats. 48th in pass offense, 31st in pass defense, 26th in rush defense, but 69th in rush offense, 88th in scoring, but their defense is 27th. So what I'm looking at is just like their defense is looking really strong. I think they need to experience a little bit more in the run game, just because it's just not working that well so far in the pass game. I mean, you have a first year quarterback. I mean, he's not going to be great off the bat, unless you have Graham Mertz, because Graham Mertz looked really good off the bat. So let's talk about the real Big Ten leaders. Ohio State. I mean, I watched the Nebraska game in week 1. The defense looked a little slow the first half, but they were picking it up. But Nebraska was looking pretty good too. They had a pretty good run game that game too. And then I watched the Penn State game, and I think Penn State was probably their hardest challenger, and they put a number on them, honestly. Justin Fields, the quarterback for Ohio State, he's on a mission, man. He wants to prove all the haters wrong after he lost the semifinal game for the championship title, and I think he's trying to go for the Natty and the Heisman. So I'm excited to see what he has in store. You can't underestimate Maryland, because that's who they play next or sometime in November. Because Tua Tagovailoa's brother, he is looking pretty good. He had 5 TDs against Minnesota on Friday night, so he might be up to something. So Ohio State cannot underestimate them. I mean, just looking at Ohio State's stats, their run game's looking really good. They're 17th in rush offense, and they're 4th in scoring offense, and their scoring defense is 19th. So they're looking pretty solid right now, and not a lot of teams can say they're like that. And then Indiana. I've been saying for months that they've been on the rise. So I tell you, I saw them play last year. I just saw a huge improvement year over year, and I'm seeing that improvement again this year. They won their game on Saturday and had this funny 8-ladder play that ended up being an 85-yard TD, but they had to reverse it because one of the pitches was a forward pass. But you got to look out for them because they're looking pretty hot. Right now they're 16th in pass defense, and their scoring defense it's a little low, but they'll get up there, man. I think they're one of those kind of a little bit. They're playing good. They just need to touch them in a few things, especially in the rush offense, because they're barely running the ball, and I think they could definitely utilize that too. Then another team that I've been following is Northwestern. As I mentioned, they're a lot better than people expect them to be. One, they dominated Maryland. They have a great run defense. They allowed 64 yards that game against Maryland, and their run offense had 4 TDs and 325 yards that game. It was just vicious, man. I was real surprised. And then, as you mentioned, but they just look good against Iowa. I think the run game is definitely their biggest suit. They're 14th in pass defense, 10th in rush offense, and their rush defense is better too. They're second right now in college football. Overall, I think their defense is one of the best defenses in the Big Ten. I just wanted to see them get some more yards out the passing game, and I think they'll be a pretty good standing to represent the Big Ten West. Is there any really changes in my predictions at the end of the season? Kind of. I think Ohio State's still going to come on top. I don't know if Wisconsin's going to come on top because they might not have enough games to be eligible for the Big Ten title game. Iowa may lose 5 games this season. I predicted 4, but it's looking like 5 now. Northwestern might come up surprise. Indiana will be. Even Purdue's on the rise. Purdue is undefeated right now. So who knows? I mean, there's a lot of things going on, and Michigan is kind of on the fence. Minnesota's a big surprise too. They've lost 2 straight, and I like PJ Fleck. He's a great head coach, but it's not looking too hot for them right now.